Hey, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and we're here a day earlier than usual to celebrate the upcoming release of the Indomitus box set from Warhammer 40k. The fine folks at Games Workshop were very generous and sent us a copy so that way we could review it. Originally, we weren't allowed to share this before the 7th, but because of rules being leaked online already, they told us that we could go ahead and do it as of today. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And we're also going to finish the basing on Arch Xantos Cavalos. And so what we're going to do first, before we get started with the unboxing, is we're going to go ahead and glue him to the base. That way, while that's drying, we can go ahead and start the unboxing. And then, as always, I like the Maxi Cure glue that you can pick up at Games U. This stuff is amazing. It dries faster than almost anything I've ever dealt with, and typically has a much stronger hold as well. So I always do a pretty generous amount on the base. Want to make sure that the entire surface is covered. Alright, so we're going to set them aside while they finish drying. And then we'll set the glue over there as well. Shaking up the PVA glue a little bit because we're going to need that shortly. We got some astrogranite debris. And then in a box that you can't really see, I have my other basing materials, mostly sand that we'll be using because these guys are based in the desert. So while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and open this up. Now, for those unaware, this is the official release for the 9th edition of Warhammer 40,000, or 40k, whichever you prefer to call it. And as you can see, this is our first time opening this. We were originally going to crack the seal today to start reading the rulebook a little bit to prepare for our review of it, but decided to hold off on that so that way we can do it all together. Alright, so first thing right off the bat, we have our typical insert. Fantastic artwork, and I just love when you lift those off, you just get hit with that new plastic smell. Alright, now this is one of the bigger rectangle sprues I've seen. Usually it's, these parts are separated, but this is to build, looks like 3 of the Space Marine bikes. And I actually haven't built a Space Marine bike since probably 3rd edition, I think it was. And that was only building one for my cousin at the time when we were first getting into 40k. And then we have a sprue for some of our Primaris Marines. Yeah, definitely a lot of great detail there. These ones don't look like anything really special because some of the models in this kit are absolutely amazing based on the pictures that they've shown. Now this kit, it looks like it's probably going to be part of your main champions for each side, and I love the Space Marine shield. And we have another one of those. This one is the Space Marine shield that actually has a skeleton fixed to the front of it once you put it together, and looks like probably another one of your Necron champions as well. We have another of the Primaris Marine sprue, looks like exactly like the previous one. And since there's a lot of kind of duplicated miniatures for the different factions, as far as this box is concerned itself, we're probably going to see several sprues that are pretty much just duplicates of the same thing. Now this is some of the Necron. It looks like mostly arms and legs and weapons for the new kind of sword-wielding Necron warriors. And looking at this is awesome looking. I can't remember what the robot is called, but it's this big kind of almost spider-like robot. And the details are just fantastic. Cannot wait to actually start painting these. And these are your main Necron troops. We have the scarabs, and then we have the soldiers with these like double barrel Gauss weapons, I believe. I don't remember the exact name of the weapons, but I do remember seeing that they were JUSS, if I remember correct, was the spelling of it. And then this is the last of the Space Marines, including the banner bearer. Looks really awesome. And let's see. Now, what I really like about these Primaris Space Marines more than the others is that, one, obviously with Primaris they're more proportional to like the normal human shape, where the previous Space Marines were kind of a little more stunted and looked kind of shorter and beefier than normal. But the Primaris Marines, they're more, even though they're bigger than those Space Marines, they are more proportionally set. But what I love most is the model for I believe it's called the Judicator. Basically this sword-wielding Space Marine that carries a lantern. I'm actually thinking about using that as a basis for a Stormcast Eternal warband for Warcry, and making him a little more medieval looking. But he also, just as a Space Marine like that, just looks totally badass, and I really can't decide. I'm hoping that they release that model separately, so that way I can get one for each. And then we have a duplicate of that same sprue for the Necron Warriors. Very cool stuff. We have another insert, duplicate of the same one. Then we have a little insert. This gives a QR code to I'm guessing to pre-order the Indomitus book by Gav Thorpe. So I'm guessing that the other side is the actual cover for that book as well. And then we have this book called The Edge of Silence. With it is also our assembly instructions. So let's go ahead and open this up. Okay, so this looks more like a kind of a fluff, and then your general rules for these models. Definitely very cool. And I do love that they include a lot of the fluff for you. Alright, now the new rule book is freaking huge. I love that it's hardcover. It's also got those nice little fabric bookmarks that you can use. And then it's actually folded in on a beautiful double spread art. I know a lot of the rules have already been leaked, like I mentioned, and we're not going to really be showing any of them off. Now, just skimming through, it looks like it's mostly fluff until you get to about page 192. But then you go through all the rules, using terrain. We have deployment setups as well. And then go into a section about relics and battle traits and honors. And one thing that I really love about that I've been hearing about this book is that, I actually just found it as well, the Crusade kind of spreadsheet, and what the purpose of this is making it more of a narrative gameplay for players, so that way it's not just just fight and fight and fight. You actually are building a whole campaign together and within your group. And then we have our decals. It has some of the more prominent Space Marine chapters on there, as well as some vehicle markings. Then lift, a little cardboard flap thing. We have our bases. Some of them have holes in them, some of them don't. It looks like a large number, if not all of them, have holes in them. But I know that will definitely help with stability. And opening up the other side, more bases. Now, these I'm guessing are for the Space Marine bikes, and if I remember, these are much bigger than they used to be. But I also don't remember Primaris bikes being released either, so that's probably why there's such a difference. But the rulebook is definitely going on my bookshelf. I'm going to put these back. So very cool stuff. Cannot wait to actually get started with these. And what's funny is both forces are my son's favorites. So these won't actually be able to help with any of the armies that I like, but that is more than okay. Very cool. Definitely looking forward to this, and probably one of my favorite box arts that they've done in a while too. Alright, so Xantos is definitely dry by now. We're going to go ahead and get our palette out, shake out the PVA glue a little bit more. And then just digging out the sand. Let's see. Just double checking to see if I have any kind of dead looking grass that would work. Okay. So no, it doesn't look like I do. So we're going to do this primarily as rocks and sand. shaking up our Astrogranite texture paint. And with Astrogranite, it works really well to not just spread it out, but also lump it up, because it'll make it look more like naturally formed rocks. And then anywhere that we have the rocks, we're going to try to avoid putting the glue. Alright. And of course, I forgot to bring paper towel over to wipe the brush, or to wipe the tool off. Alright. And with the glue, you want to make sure you cover the base pretty excessively, so that way it glues up. And the PVA glue, especially when it's a couple years old like mine is, has a tendency of kind of separating a little bit more, and you want to do it kind of in sections as you're going to. And since we left the Astrogranite wet when we started this, it actually collected the sand as well. And gives a nice sandy rock look. And then once we're done with this, the last thing that we'll need to do is spray it with a matte varnish or a glossy varnish. Personally, I like to go with the matte because most items I don't like to shine, unless they're things like eyeballs or something gooey like intestines or something like that, in which case I will actually paint on a more glossy varnish, so that way they will have the desired wet look more natural. And we're already almost half done. Of course, that being said, I am going to need to top off my paint, or my PVA glue in the pot. And doing it in stages like this actually gives a very nice kind of wavy sand look. Now, one thing I didn't notice in the Indomitus box that actually surprised me is I didn't see any dice in there. So either my box was missing the dice and should have been there, or they're no longer giving you free dice like they did in the past. But even without the dice, it is still a very cool box, and you don't need any sort of special dice to play. I mean, pretty much any D6 will work for this. And then the one thing that you just want to make sure you're doing when you are using glue with your brushes is when you're done to rinse them very thoroughly, or else it will cease to be your brush. And we are nearly finished. And originally, I know last week we were talking about how we might not actually be doing an episode this week, and that was because today is really my only day off for the week, so I was going to wait to do the unboxing until next week, since that's when the embargo was anyway. But figured with the official embargo changing, that I would go ahead and show you guys how awesome this box is. Now, one of the rules that I've seen leaked, and I don't know if this is true yet because I haven't actually read the rules, but it supposedly, by bringing a battle-ready painted army, you actually get 10 bonus points automatically. So there's now a victory incentive for painting your models, which I can understand some people's hesitation with a rule like that. I'm seeing a lot of people talking about how they feel that it's kind of segregating some parts of the fan base, because not everybody has the skill to paint or the ability to, and so because of that, you know, they feel that, you know, it's kind of going to turn some of those players away. And while I can see what they're saying there, I don't think that is necessarily the case, because you can still win a match without having your army painted. It's going to come down to strategy, where you're at a points disadvantage because your opponent may have the painted army, so would have 10 victory points up on you to begin with. But if you are a skilled enough player, you can prevent them from earning more victory points, and while simultaneously earning your own. And doing that, you can still win a game. It's going to come down to if you are the more skilled player, you definitely still have a chance anyway. But it's more to be kind of an incentive to have people paint their armies, because that is part of the hobby in general. So obviously they want to see people paint their armies, and it's not saying you get the victory points based on how good they're painted, just that they're painted battle ready. So that means doing the base, doing some paint. Tournament rules are typically a minimum of 3 colors, and as long as you have the model painted, then you're good to go. With this, he's definitely not some of my best work. Had a lot of fun doing it, and there's a lot more than 3 colors here, especially when you factor in the color of sand on the base. But I would consider him definitely battle ready, as he is. So if that rule is a actual rule, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I do like seeing painted armies fighting. I've never wanted to field a gray plastic army, and whenever we've been doing our reviews, for a little while, we were doing them with the gray paint, without painting the armies, getting them built, getting them played. But now we've built up enough miniatures of our own that we can use them as proxies, so that we can still play and do the rules. And by this point, most of them are already painted, so we don't have to worry about not fielding an all plastic team that's not painted. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that rule. We'll definitely be going through the rule book, obviously not in the video, but we will be going through it and checking out some of the new rules. And once we're done doing that and playing a game, we'll definitely be writing a review for sharing our thoughts on that. But that will likely come in the next month or two before we're ready for that, because it's going to take a bit of work to get there, and mostly time more than anything else. But that's it for tonight. Next week we will actually start the assembly on those Aeronautica Imperialis models from Skies of Fire, as well as the Grot bombers that we've had for a little while. So we're going to get those built up, and then in between episodes we'll get them primed, and then probably start painting them real soon, getting those up and then going from there. But again, that's it for tonight. Thank you guys for watching. Definitely can't wait to get started on the Indomitus box and checking that out. And I hope you guys check us out again next week, and have a good night.